In this video, I'm modifying the new Parkside Performance D3 impact driver and putting it to the test. I'm also revisiting the Parkside drill bit sharpener, and this time it actually behaves the way it should. And finally, I found some Parkside drill bits I actually like, so I'll be testing them head to head against Bosch. Alright then, let's get straight into it. Starting with the 2025 Parkside Performance D3 impact driver, a lot of you have asked me about the easiest and cheapest way to upgrade it with a combination anvil. Specifically, this exact kit from AliExpress. So here it is, the one everyone's been asking about. It includes a 41mm combination anvil, which fits perfectly, plus the required bushing. Ideally, a two-step bushing would be even better, but that has to be custom made, as there's no ready-to-use version for this model. If you haven't seen my full review of this, there's a link to that video in the description. So, the first step is obviously taking the tool apart, carefully. And yes, doing this voids the warranty. Unlike the 2024 version, you can't just remove the 4 front screws anymore. On the 25 model, you need to open the entire tool. And once all the screws are out, pull out the rotor, split the casing, and remove the front section. But before you open it fully, take off the collet, and on this model, that takes patience and a very steady hand. After that, remove the small bits and pieces until the anvil is exposed. Take the impact mechanism off and the anvil will just drop out. Next, remove the old bushing, and I'm using a bearing puller here and a socket because I'm filming. Normally I use a vise or even a bearing press. With the old bushing now out, install a new one. It's a direct replacement, so no modifications are needed. Just make sure any loose pieces that fell out are put back where they belong. Reinstalling the new bushing is simply the reverse of removing the old one. Before installing the new anvil, add grease, something which Parkside doesn't really bother doing anymore. And after this point, make sure everything spins freely at every step of reassembly. Reassemble the impact mechanism, close the casing, put the front section back on, and check that the anvil turns smoothly. Screw everything down, and well, you're done. The base height of the original anvil matches the new one perfectly, so no sanding, no machining, and no questionable DIY shortcuts are required. It's basically plug and play. Still, make sure to double check your measurements, just to make sure. And yes, I already know someone's going to comment that this tool is not meant for those sorts of jobs. True, but it still works brilliantly as an impact wrench, so if you want that extra capability, why not build it yourself? And would you look at that, 3 M20 nuts ready to be tested on. And because I'm cold, miserable, and I can't remember what a newton meter is right now, I've also got this tool which has 3 mode settings. What a coincidence. 3 nuts, 3 modes. You know where this is going, right? The cold has already knocked a bar off the battery, but never mind. Let's tighten all 3 nuts and see if the new setup can undo them. Nut 1 tightened with mode 1. Nut 2 tightened with mode 2. Nut 3 tightened with mode 3, which is the highest setting. I have no idea how tight these are anymore, but let's find out where the modification fails, assuming it fails at all. Same battery as before, and by the way, the new D3 actually stays in the selected mode. It doesn't jump back to mode 4 like the old one, and that's a really nice upgrade. Alright then, here we go. Nut 1, broken free without a problem. Nut 2, also broken free. And nut 3, which is the one I thought it would fail on, but no. It eventually broke that one loose too. Not bad at all. And because this anvil still has the original 1/4 inch hex opening, you can continue using your hex bit. So with this mod, you can run both 1/2 inch sockets and 1/4 inch bits on the same tool. So, what do you think of this mod? Let me know in the comments below. Now, let's talk about the Parkside drill bit sharpener again, because we have unfinished business here. If you remember, I managed to blow this thing up in the first video, and even though I blame myself, a lot of you were still pretty angry. So, here we go again. I've watched a lot of videos since then, and I don't think there's a realistic way this thing can sharpen wood drill bits such as this one. So, keep that in mind. It seems much better suited for drill bits for metal, which is fair because those are the ones that actually need frequent resharpening. This is a completely brand new sharpener, and yes, I'm unboxing it on camera again. I also picked up some drill bits, mainly because I want to test the Parkside Performance Turbo drill bits. They claim to be less prone to walking even on metal pipes, and for €8 a set, I just had to try them. But first, let's pick up where we left off last time, the 10mm drill bit. So, here we go. Place it back in the holder and tighten it just enough so it can still move. Adjust the screw that controls the material removal and set the holder exactly to the 180-degree mark. One slot off and you're suddenly at 135 degrees. Position the bit so the jaws grip the narrowest part of the flute, and once everything lines up, tighten it and set the front angle to 180 degrees as well. Power on the sharpener and make sure the holder stays in contact with the guide pin. And it has to be said that I immediately can feel a huge difference between this unit and the last one. This one is quieter, smoother, and vibrates way less. Clearly, the quality varies between units. And after a minute or two, the result looks genuinely sharp. But let's take it a bit further, shall we? Under a plastic cover on the side, you can access the grinding stone to sharpen or even create a split point. So, let's try that. Align it, insert it, and let it work. Again, this unit runs much better than the one that went up in smoke last time. The result looks excellent, in fact. I mounted the drill bit in the magnetic drill, and I am genuinely happy with the end result. After adding some Parkside cutting oil, which is actually surprisingly good for the price, the sharpened drill bit performed better than expected. But we're not done, are we? Last time, large drill bits were sharpened fine, but smaller drill bits were the problem. So, I bought some 3mm drill bits, drilled a few holes to dull them, and brought out the sharpener again. And this is after watching hours of tutorials. But I find it's just impossible to get a 3mm drill bit aligned properly on this, especially in the metal jaws. If the drill bit were longer, maybe you could position it properly, but with a standard length 3mm drill bit, it simply will not stay where it needs to be. I tried my best on camera, and the result was, well, tragic. I tried it again off camera, just so I could concentrate better, but again, the result was no better. Nowhere near what it's supposed to look like. I still added a split point and tried it in the magnetic drill, hoping for a miracle basically, but no. The drill bit snapped pretty much instantly. So yes, this sharpener is definitely not suitable for small diameter drill bits, which is fine. They're cheap and probably not even worth the effort in most cases. But for larger diameter drill bits, it's really good. Now, let's move on to the third thing we need to test, 6mm drill bits. For this test, I've got three options, a basic Bosch bit, a more premium Bosch bit, and the Parkside Performance Turbo drill bit. What's interesting here is the price. This entire Parkside set costs about twice as much as a single premium Bosch drill bit, and yet the Parkside bits claim to have a special tip designed to prevent walking when drilling into something tricky like a pipe. Normally, I'm not a big fan of the Parkside drill bits, but these are marketed differently, so I'm genuinely curious to see how they perform. So, let's find out if they're actually any good. First up, the basic Bosch hss-r drill bit. The R means it's made from roll-forged high-speed steel, durable, slightly flexible, and designed to be affordable. It's a solid general-purpose drill bit, and exactly the kind most people are familiar with. For all the drilling today, I'll be using the Parkside cutting oil spray, fluid, or whatever you want to call it. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. It gets the job done. And it's cheap. So, if this is the only type of drill bit you've ever used, you'll probably be more than happy with the performance. It drills holes, it lasts reasonably well, and it's inexpensive. It does exactly what it says on the package. Nothing to complain about here. Next up is the Point TQ, which uses a special point tip. The Point TQ design is meant for faster, more precise metal drilling with minimal wandering, quicker starts, and reduced heat and wear. I've linked a much more science-based breakdown of these bits in the description. My approach, on the other hand, is about as unscientific as it gets. I just go by feel, basically, and immediately I can tell the difference. It drills faster, I need considerably less pressure, and it feels smoother overall. I also see less wear, and there's no performance drop when compared to the regular Bosch bit. Quite the opposite, actually. So, is it worth the extra cost? Well, that does depend on you. Let me know in the comments if you think the upgrade is justified. Whereas for me, I'd happily buy the Point TQ again. It's simply a better drill bit. Now, let's get to the real reason I made this segment, the Parkside Performance Turbo drill bits. And after testing these, I have to say that I am genuinely surprised. In terms of performance, these are much closer to the Bosch Point TQs than to a basic drill bit. They feel faster than a standard drill bit and require noticeably less pressure to work. That said, there is a downside. Because of this specific tip design, metal tends to stick to the tip, which means you sometimes have to stop and clear it out before the bit can start drilling again. In this setup, that makes it a bit less usable, but to be fair, I don't think these bits are really designed with mag drills in mind. The most important claim on the box is that these bits are particularly good for drilling into metal pipes, so we'll test that in just a moment. But before we do, I want to say this. So far, I'm genuinely impressed with how they perform. For €8 per set, I think these are a very solid addition to a DIYer's toolkit, and that's coming from someone who normally does not like Parkside drill bits at all. In terms of longevity, I don't expect them to last as long as the Bosch Point TQs, but when you look at the price to performance ratio, they're shaping up to be a really strong DIY option. I mean, just look at them side by side with the Bosch Point TQs. So, I do approve of the cheap Parkside cutting oil, and I approve of the cheap drill bits so far. But now, it's time to see if they actually deliver on their marketing claims. Let's test the Parkside Performance Turbo and the Bosch Point TQs on a pipe-like piece of metal and see whether the cheaper Parkside really does get a better bite at the start. And yes, this is a brand new drill. You'll see a full review of it very soon, but I needed it for this test, so consider this a small preview. Drilling mode on and speed 2. A quick spray of cutting oil, and let's start with the Parkside, which barely moved at all from where I placed it. So, fair play, Parkside. The rest of the drilling job was a breeze too, but that's to be expected at this point. Now, let's see what the Bosch can do. Same settings, and let's go. Alright, I hope you caught that. It did walk on the pipe, not dramatically, but it definitely moved more. After that, it was smooth sailing. However, the start was the important part here. So let's roll these starts side by side so you can get a clearer look. I also repeated the test several times off camera, and the result was always the same. There is a big difference. The Parkside bits consistently start drilling closer to where you actually place them simply because they wander less. So, take it from someone who usually avoids Parkside drill bits and accessories at all costs. These are genuinely worth the €8. And well, that's it for this video really. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks in advance if you decide to leave a like, drop a comment, or subscribe to the channel.